I'm Pima County Attorney Laura Conover, and welcome to the People's Office podcast. Our goal here is to share and discuss some of the most important information and issues affecting Pima County today. We're having real conversations and reflections on what you care about as we do our part to create change in the justice system. Hello and welcome back to the People's Office podcast here at the Pima County Attorney's Office, where our goal is to try to take a few extra minutes to dive into a topic. You know, a lot of the criminal justice system can be complex ideas and topics with a lot of legal mumbo jumbo, as they say, and it's nice to take a minute and take a deeper dive into either a hot button issue or, as we're doing today, something really special going on in our community that we want folks to know more about. Today we're going to talk about juvenile justice and programs designed to keep juveniles, kiddos, out of the system entirely. One of my favorite topics, of course. For those of you who've been with us for 5 years now, we are in our 5th year, you know that juvenile justice and juvenile justice reform was a cornerstone and remains a cornerstone in the forefront of our minds, especially as we want to reach younger and younger children, to give them the tools, the education, and the resources they need to grow and thrive here in Pima County. So I am delighted to be joined today by Raul Munoz. He is the program director at Liberty Partnership Kino Neighborhoods Council. Many people say LPKNC and know it that way. And he's going to talk to us about a very special program called Teen Maze. And I am also absolutely delighted to be joined once again by Dale Cardy. Dale runs the juvenile division out on Ajo at the juvenile court. He runs the division of prosecutors who have dedicated their careers to the privilege of getting to work with children and helping them resolve problems and figuring out how to find ways to get back out of the system if they've come in. Dale is in his, I think we decided, 24th year with the office, and I have often said that there's no doubt in my mind that he may have been the bureau chief here at the office who had to do the heaviest lifting when I came in. And that team has more than risen to the occasion. It's a joy to watch them work. I was out there recently and quite a bit humbled by the restorative work going out in juvenile court with all the professionals who have dedicated their lives to working with kids. So with that, welcome, gentlemen. I'm so pleased to be here with you. I want to start with Raul. We would love to hear a little bit generally, I think, about LPKNC, what you all do, what your role is in the community before we get to our special program of the day.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me here today and speak on this topic. And Liberty Partnership Kino Neighborhood Council is a combination of two coalition groups that began back in 2011, 2012, there on the south side of Tucson, predominantly 36 and Park area, Western Hills, the Vistas area, and well established for well over 13 to 15 years between the two councils. Coalition groups, the two coalitions, and became LPKNC, right? Liberty Partnership Kino Neighborhoods Council. It was established and developed by our CEO and President Jamal Givens, and that began back in 2018. Felt that there was a need to be proactive and get ahead on prevention, not just treatment. Treatment is just as important. We were hoping that we can try to get ahead on being able to be proactive, more proactive for our youth. And it was ideally set in place to help stop and reduce the use of marijuana, tobacco, prescription medications amongst youth and children in our Southside communities predominantly, and also creating awareness for families to strengthen our community.
Does Liberty refer to Liberty Elementary, I have to ask? Is that part of it?
No, not necessarily. But we do serve all of Sunnyside School District, and Liberty Elementary is one of those schools.
Yeah,
so.
it's one of the great ones.
Yes.
So Raul, sticking with you for just a second, we're going to talk today about Teen Maze.
Yes.
Can you define that program and how it works?
Yes. So the Teen Maze was actually created in Yavapai County by a youth faith-based charity organization back in 1999. And what they were doing was bringing everybody together, all the community sectors, businesses, law enforcement, faith-based communities, civic volunteers, parents and youth, and being able to put on an experience for youth to be able to reflect on how their choices can impact their future. And it was broken down by various kind of sectors within the experience of the Teen Maze, whether that be substance use, mental health, and also looking at kind of career assessment opportunities. And so it was broken down that way, and it's a scenario-based type of experience. And since then, it's evolved, and it's been used by many other organizations and implemented here in our community. LPKNC is not the only one that actually implements a Teen Maze here in Tucson. We do provide it here in the south side of Tucson a few times a year, and other organizations provide it many times in other parts of the Tucson area. So that's where it originally started, but LPNC has been providing the Teen Maze for the last 4 years now, and it's been good.
So tell us how a kid or a family gets involved and hears about Teen Maze and signs up for it.
Absolutely. So we've been facilitating the Teen Maze at Desert View High School and Sunnyside High School, and also in Marana. Mountain View High School is one of the other ones as well, in partnership with Marana Prevention Alliance Group, so also the coalition group. It's typically provided for incoming freshmen. And we see that there's a large number of student enrollment during that time, and there's a lot of peer pressure on our students, and we want to be able to get to them sooner than later, right? And in the two high schools that we meet with before, typically the students are in a summer program. They're in the high school, and we meet with all of them. On average, there's probably close to 300 students or more that are kind of in their summer programs, and so a little over 600 students or so between the two high schools that we meet with during the summertime. And then at Mountain View High School, there's approximately about 500 plus students, and that's a little bit different because what's unique about that particular high school, the students actually get to sign up and they're invited to be a part of that maze. And it's not just for freshmen, it's for freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors. So it's a little bit larger group. And typically it's an all-day event. We do kind of break it down into subsections. We don't take the entire school day. We dedicate at least an hour and a half or so per block of instruction so that they get the full experience of the Teen Maze. And it's scenario-based, as I shared. And we kind of give them a scenario, we show them a video, and that there's a student who chose to vape that has an illegal substance and or a substance that they're not of age to use, and kind of the impact of how that can interfere with their schoolwork or family life or a personal life, and then also look at the possibilities of when they do say no and the positive outcomes of that as well. So it's not always just the negative stuff. We also want to make sure that we do focus on the positive and the solution-based part of the scenario. What's neat about it is usually we have the scenario starts out with kind of a party, and they see there's a video and there's other ways that we kind of opened up where we've had a party, they're present, they're walking in. And typically when they're walking in, they're checking in, getting wristbands as they're registered and checked in. And at that moment, you don't realize that, oh, okay, there's music playing, and they think that, well, we're just here for the Teen Maze. They don't realize that they're actually part of a party, and then you hear it kind of knocks on the door, and the party gets broken up, and law enforcement is present. And it's at that moment where, okay, well, here's a scenario, this is what's happened, and then they break out into various colors, broken down and as it relates to the scenario, and they all start at different spots, and then they rotate about every 8 minutes or so. And each of the vendors are representative of various sectors from the community, law enforcement, Pima County Attorney's Office, of course. We have nonprofit there. We also have businesses, faith-based communities, healthcare professionals like El Rio or COPE, and things like that. So they're able to kind of let them know this is what happens when you make these types of choices, and we hope to kind of make them think twice about those types of predicaments that they might be faced, especially with peer pressure being so heavy in high school.
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect segue. Dale, tell us how the juvenile division plays a role with Teen Maze. How do you guys partner, and what does that look like?
Sure. So we get involved because we're one of the partners who attends the Teen Maze. We set up a table. Tony Gallego, CT Revere do an excellent job bringing stuff over, a tablecloth. We bring other items that we can give to the kids, like gun locks and bike reflectors and candy and snacks, which usually gets gobbled up immediately. We're generally hurting towards the end of the afternoon with that. We bring pens, pencils, stuff like that. But essentially, we're one of the stops that the juveniles go to. And my primary role is just to talk with them about, well, they've been referred by law enforcement for this charge. What are the ramifications going to be because of that? What's the picture for them because of that? And kind of similar to what Raul said, I try to be as real with them as possible. I try and explain to them some of the negative consequences that are going to occur as a result of this happening. But I also want to give them hope too, and I generally also explain to them, sometimes with this kind of charge, you could be eligible for diversion, which means if you're willing to take responsibility and accountability for what happened and complete some consequences, that there is still kind of hope moving forward with the future. So I want them at the level that this scenario hits them, I want them to see us not just as the person perhaps responsible for holding them accountable, but also trying to support them in moving forward.
That's what I love about juvenile court, and I think the entire approach out there is how can we reckon with what's happened? How can we figure out what the needs and problems are for why this has happened, and how can we find a way to restore and rehabilitate and not come back into the system. And it's more collaborative than the adult system. So what I want to do is I want to slow this down and try to give our audience a picture of what this looks like. And I want to go back to what Raul was saying, that so the kids have signed up for Teen Maze and they're walking in and they're giving their name and they're checking off their RSVP, they're getting the wristband. But I think, Raul, what you're saying is they don't realize immediately, or it starts to dawn on them, that they've walked into the scenario already. Like, it looks like a party, and they're walking into a party, there's music playing. And so tell us a little bit about how the scenario works and kind of how you watch students realize that they're suddenly in the mix of exactly the situations that they face and having to make decisions.
Absolutely. So just a unique difference, Yavapai County, when they actually have their Department of Transportation provide almost like a wreckage in the front. So as students show up, they go as far as that. Also creating dividers within a school gym area, so they don't really know where they're going. They just kind of follow their guide, and this is the next part where we got to go. If it's visiting an attorney's office, or we got to visit law enforcement, or maybe it's a youth-based organization, and it's the same that applies with our Teen Maze. However, we don't bring a wreckage to the site. Of course, it's a cool idea. It's a little expensive. There is money behind that. What we do manage with kind of getting them in that frame of mind of really understanding how their choices and the decisions that they make can impact their future. So as they start out, everyone starts out at the color of which the wristband which was given to them at registration. And each of the vendors have that color. The scenarios are broken down by the color scheme and the rotation in which takes effect. And so typically, if say law enforcement's blue, I have a blue wristband. I start out at the blue table with TPD. And they would sit there, and TPD would share with them, okay, guys, this is where we're at now. This is the first part of the scenario. You were just caught with possession here at the school. You're looking at 3 to 10 days suspension and possible court ambience type of scenario. And then from that part, the second part is now 8 minutes goes by. You have to go stop by at the red table with Pima County Attorney's Office, right? And then they go and visit, and then we just rotate every 8 minutes that way. And what's interesting is because when you go to your typical resource fair, for example, there's some great information out there, a lot of information dissemination, a lot of swag items, and candy is one of them, right?
It's always a smart move.
It's great. They love it. And because we don't want it to be stressful, but we do want them to create that awareness, and we're educating them at the same time so that we empower our youth to have a full, complete understanding of the consequences behind giving into peer pressure when it leads to substance use in the school, especially with a developing brain, adolescent brain. And we do go into that information as well, as far as the prefrontal cortex, and many of them are hearing it for the first time, and you'd be surprised. According to Arizona Youth Survey, a lot of our parents and families and households, only half of them really are talking to youth about these types of topics, and so if we got 300 students there, right, you figure at least 150 of them are hearing it for the first time there at the Teen Maze.
Wow. I appreciate, Raul, you bringing up, that their brains are still developing, right? I mean, they don't have some of these decision-making tools or the natural instinct to pause and reflect. It's kind of that impulsive go. So I love that you're letting them actually practice how to make decisions.
Yes.
It's walking into a party. I feel like minute by minute, there's decisions happening, that can go well for a kid or can get them in huge trouble and so quickly.
Correct.
So I love that you're helping them practice in a safe place.
Yes.
What if, I'll give you a moment to think about it, but do you have an example that comes to mind of things you've heard kids say, I didn't realize, or what they're learning, just sort of on the outcome end of things, the way kids are processing what they're going through as they're going through the maze?
Absolutely. And I think what's happening is the groups are broken down into manageable groups, and so we've kind of steered away from actually the way LPKNC has conducted it in comparison to Yavapai is we have a little bit of a scavenger hunt / teen maze. And we've used a Goose Chase app and on tablets, and then we give them clues and where to go to next. And we conducted that first time over at Desert View High School, and they loved it. And it's not just in a school gym kind of thing, but these are incoming freshmen. They don't know where their classes are at. They don't know where the libraries are. Maybe they don't know where student services is located. So we have planned out in coordination with the school to place our vendors in these designated areas where students need to go and visit on their first day of class or maybe their first day of high school. And so in that process, it makes it engaging, it's fun, and we found that it's more personable that way. It's not, there's less distraction, and when the students are able to just be one-on-one with that vendor, or maybe it's more personable, and we've seen a significant difference in behavior as far as their attention, and of course, it moves. every 8 minutes or so. And so it's quick, and they're getting information, they're getting resources, they're able to take these resources home with them to share with their families. And it's a very, very positive experience for them in that sense, in that it's not like your typical traditional classroom setting.
Right.
All right, guys, I'm here to do a presentation. Here's my PowerPoint. But it's like they're living that scenario, and they're meeting all these great people from the community that care about youth and just want the best for them to keep their minds and their bodies healthy and safe.
Well, and when you're talking about an incoming freshman, right, like getting them comfortable on campus before that kind of big first scary day of school, it also strikes me too that if they're navigating a place they don't know yet, they're also kind of learning to help themselves, right? To problem solve for themselves, advocate for themselves. Dale, what has your team heard as far as feedback or observed what students are learning?
Yeah, I mein, from my experience, I definitely see the students responding to the things that we're saying. They're responding to me in a way that they're hearing what we're saying in terms of the potential consequences. I think they're responding in a way that lead me to believe that they're viewing us as being there because we care as well, which I think is a really nice thing. I generally take the first maybe 2/3 of the amount of time that I have to talk about the scenario and what the potential consequences are. And then at least the last few times when CT has come, he takes the opportunity to talk in general about the Pima County Attorney's Office and the different things that we do and the efforts that we do. That's when we pass out some of the things, items that we've brought. And I think, so to me, it's nice because I think the other agencies kind of do something similar where it's not only about the scenario, but it's almost kind of plants maybe a seed in kids' minds that maybe someday they'd like to work for the county attorney's office or law enforcement or juvenile probation or the health department or all these other agencies that are coming. So I think it kind of has that dual effect. Raul mentioned this most recent Desert View Sunnyside teen maze, and I couldn't agree more with him that the way that they're handling teen maze is extremely effective in terms of breaking it up into the different locations, letting the kids travel from location to location, learning the school. I've done several events where it is in the gymnasium, and I agree, just having a bunch of tables in a gymnasium is really hard because it's loud. The kids, even though they're broken up into smaller groups, can all see each other because they're all in the same gym together. And so the way that Raul has done it recently really makes it much more intimate. And I think the kids are much more likely to hear the message that way. So I really commend you for making that change. Yeah.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, Dale, because I was thinking about kind of what was available when I was a kid, and the model was, I think, very different at that time. Kind of maybe more of a scared straight model, and I appreciate the innovation and where this has gone. I think the messaging probably reaches the students better in this way, and maybe with a more lasting impression.
Yes.
The other thing that you just said, Dale, that's really interesting to me is that I like the idea of hundreds of kids seeing adults donating their time and wanting to spend time with them and to be helpful, rather than only serving some role like waiting to discipline, right? Like after something's gone wrong. So I love that. I love that they get to know you and see what you do, proactively. I think, Raul, you were using the word proactive.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. In fact, I'll just add that I was having a discussion with the Tucson Police Department, long-time 22-year now captain in Team 1 on the South Side. And we were lamenting that we went to high school together, but he was a little bit my senior. and we were lamenting the recent loss of a wonderful dean at the high school who had taught me to drive. Like among the many things he did, right? He did driver's ed, and he had taught me to drive. And we were talking about how the data is so clear that even for the most high-risk youth, like the most high-risk youth, it only takes one safe adult that cares about them and that they have access to give them a chance to make it out of their high-risk life. Awesome. And so I love the role LPKNC is playing in that.
Thank you very much. It's a very small piece, and but it's definitely an effective piece. And we do have a youth-adult partnership is our core value, and soliciting input from youth as well. It's not enough that as adults we facilitate this information. We also want to empower them with that knowledge so that they can share with their peers and their social circles. And typically that's where we really see a difference, is when youth to youth type of facilitation. And we have many programs where we give our youth that opportunity to facilitate some of our programming there in the high schools. And of course, it's monitored by LPKNC staff, and it's mentored and guided. And but it's very positive engagement and feedback that we get. And along with our youth group, we have a youth advisory board that coordinates community activities, and where we have various representatives from all the different schools that we're getting ready to ramp up. We also have a Young Men on the Rise group. Myself and we have an intern from ASU and another program facilitator where we meet with young males, freshmen that have been identified as potential challenges that they're facing, whether it be academics, behavioral, or attendance. Yeah. And so we meet with them and just keep them motivated, encouraging them, and just be support. It's borderline case management, where we are going to be given permission to contact families and follow up with grades and those kind of things. So we're really excited about that part. It's something that's new for LPKNC. And just as you shared, if we could just reach at least one of them, I'm confident that we could reach the majority of them, I think, and really give them those opportunities that they may not have otherwise thought about, or thought that, I'm not good enough, or I never thought I would be included in this type of information. And it's been positive so far. We've been meeting with a little over probably about 80 to 90 young men from middle school and 2 high schools here in town, and they keep coming back. So, and they're there in school. And I tell them, hey, as long as you're here in the classroom, we can work with you. Yes. If you're not here, I can't help you. So though I would step up to the challenge on that question, but if they're there, it's a lot easier, of course.
That's fantastic, and I think from our perspective, for Dale and I, it's exactly what the community needs. I mean, that's your diversion concept at the best, right? Like before they have any contact with the criminal justice system, you're offering them, you are diverting them to a brighter future and showing them that it's possible. I also have to say, I love the Youth Advisory Council. The best way to improve what we do for young people is to put them at the table and to just listen, right? We always, that's a core principle we have here, of trying to keep young people at the table, giving them a voice and listening to what their needs actually are.
Absolutely.
I applaud that.
Yeah, for sure.
I want to thank you both so much for engaging in this conversation. I learned a lot about Teen Maze. I look forward to an invitation. I would love to go and check it out now that I've seen it in my mind, and I want to see it in action. And Dale and Raul, thank you so much for.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us once again for a very interesting conversation. For me, I love bringing subject matter experts into the room to talk about an issue. We'd like to hear from you what you're interested in. What is the topic of the day or the subject matter you'd like to know more about, you can contact us at the website. We'll give you the link down below. And nice to see you again, and we'll see you next time, signing off from the People's Office.
Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and PCAO newsletter. We'll have links in the description. If you have a show idea or questions, just email us at thepeoplesofficepodcast@pcao.pima.gov. Until next time, thank you for joining us. To be continued.